Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJAY Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate it. On this edition, we're going to be talking about Saints victory over the Tennessee Titans 16-15 in week number 1. We're going to be talking about who deserves an up and who deserves a down in this win. And we're also going to be talking about unfortunately, Payton Turner being injured once again. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about week number 1, Saints versus Titans. Put a nice little Christmas bow on it. The Saints getting the win, protecting the Superdome, winning their 5th straight home opener. I thought that was pretty impressive. That is a franchise record for the New Orleans Saints. So congratulations to the New Orleans Saints in that regard. You know, Who That Nation? I got an opportunity to go back and check out the game and watch it all the way through. I know a lot of people were upset with me yesterday about my take, and they were saying, TJ, you were a little bit too hard on the team. And, TJ, you need to understand that things ain't going to be perfect. It's only week 1. And I got to say, I take none of what I said yesterday back. Absolutely nothing, because everything that I said, I feel like was well within my rights to say it. I'm sorry if I hurt some people's feelings, but get out your feelings. Because if you're going to say that the New Orleans Saints are one of the best teams in the league, if you're going to whine and boo-hoo, Nick Rice said this about my team. We're a good team. We one of the best teams in the league. If you're going to say all that, then this should bother you, right? Because if you're going to say that the New Orleans Saints should be in a conversation with some of the top teams in the NFC, this team should play really, really well. They should not be lacking in a lot of things. And we looked at the New Orleans Saints on yesterday, and we seen that the Saints offensive line are a liability. We know that they're a liability. I'm not going to pretend, and neither should you. All I'm saying is, when you look at Trevor Penning is not a left tackle. I'm sorry. He is not a left tackle. It's just as simple as that. But I will say that Derek Carr played pretty well in this game, all things considered. Now, there were times where he held on to the ball a little bit too long. And yes, there was that interception where he didn't see that I want to say that safety coming underneath. That's fine, right? But all in all, he made the plays that you need to make. And we know that it's going to take some time in order for the wide receivers to gel with Derek Carr. So I get all that. I completely understand that. But they got to find ways to be able to protect Derek Carr. But don't take my word for it. Hear it from Saints head coach Dennis Allen when he's talking about some of the things he saw after he watched the tape.
I thought there was a number of things that we did, really well. I also thought there was a number of things that can come back to bite us if we don't get those things corrected. I thought overall, I didn't think we did a good enough job, up front offensively, controlling the line of scrimmage. I think that's an area that we've got to be better at. We've got to do a better job of protecting the quarterback. We've got to do a better job of being able to get something going in the run game. And yet I felt like there were some plays that we made, in critical moments in the game. We were able to make some plays and give ourselves a chance to win the game. I thought defensively, there's a number of things that we did well from a coverage standpoint, a number of things that we did well from a pass rush standpoint. And yet there's 3 or 4 plays in the game where I thought we got away with a couple of things, in terms of some coverage mistakes that could have cost us. So there's things to clean up there.
Oh, but TJ, you hating, bro. You hating, man. It's only one game, bro. You heard it from the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Whether you like him or not, he said the same exact thing, right? The offensive line did not do a good job. You have to be able to protect the quarterback. You got to be able to open up running lanes for these running backs. and you got to be able to hold your man down. It's just that simple. If you're going to be a part of the NFC elite, along with the Philadelphia Eagles, along with the 49ers, I can't believe I'm about to say this, along with the Cowboys, you have to fix these offensive line issues. It would be sad that we watch what happened to Drew Brees in reverse, using some of the best years of some of your best defensive talent because you can't get out your own way offensively. I heard some people complaining about Pete Carmichael's play calling. This isn't one of them games. I'm going to be honest. This isn't one of them games where I can criticize Pete Carmichael, and I'll tell you why. Because the way that offensive line was unable to protect Derek Carr for most of the game, how many plays can he draw up that can be successful? I don't care if you had the best offensive play sheet in the history of football. If you don't have an offensive line that can hold their man down while the quarterback reads through his progressions to throw the ball, I don't care what you got, you're not going to be successful. Is Pete Carmichael one of the best play callers in the league? I think he's middle of the pack. Do I feel like at times his play calling can be considered vanilla? Absolutely. But this isn't one of those games. It wasn't one of those games. Pete Carmichael's play calling was not the reason why the New Orleans Saints did not generate points. It wasn't, right? It was the lack of execution on the offensive line. And sometimes it was because of some of the wide receivers not being able to get open. I've seen a couple plays where Derek Carr was standing strong in a pocket, had all day, could have knitted a sweater. And there was great coverage by the Tennessee Titans. I also saw a couple plays that, boy, if Ryan Tannehill was named Mahomes, if Ryan Tannehill was named Burrow, the Saints would have been in trouble. There was that double reverse, and there was also a play that Tannehill could have threw to TJAY Spears down the left sidelines. Those were two opportunities for a touchdown. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But I did see a lot of positive things as well. I seen a lot of really good things. Michael Thomas looked incredible. I think that a lot of people were concerned about, his overall health and what he would look like. But I think that Michael Thomas is going to be really, really good. As long as he holds up, we know the threat that he gives to any defense and any opponent that goes up against him. But I seen Chris Olave take a step forward. I seen him take a step forward. I seen him like really show some strength. Like last year, I really felt like Chris Olave was a little bit on the smaller side, man. And I was wondering to myself, what was he going to look like in 2023? I mean, he put on a little bit of muscle. I seen, him coming off the line of scrimmage, and, I seen a difference in that. So I got to give respect to Chris Olave. He's taking a step forward. I still want to see Chris Olave win some of those one-on-one matchups when it comes to those contested catches. Okay, I understand that late in the game in the fourth quarter, that should have been pass interference. But if he would have caught that pass, then it would have been irrefutable, for real. Like, so I want to see that from Chris Olave. And I think that if he starts to do that, then you'll really see him take a step forward. But that doesn't mean that he isn't really good right now. He is really good. And the more I watch Chris Olave, when I'm looking at him, when I'm watching him play, he reminds me a lot of Marvin Harrison, like his route running ability, some of the decisions that he make as a receiver. He looks like Marvin Harrison out there, one of my favorite receivers of all time right there. So shouts out to Chris Olave stepping up, making things happen, and definitely what the doctor ordered for the New Orleans Saints. Another person that I really felt like was kind of underrated when it came to us like evaluating and looking at the game is Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson did a really good job. He was over there helping out Trevor Penning in the second half, chipping defensive ends. And also he came up with some clutch catches. And I feel like once the Saints kind of get Trevor Penning settled in, I feel like that's when you're going to see Juwan Johnson kind of spread his wings. But it's kind of hard when you're trying to, knock the block off a defensive end to help out your left tackle and try to go out there and run routes. I think that Juwan Johnson has the benefit of being a former receiver, so he understands route running. And I think he's getting much better as a blocker. And I think that as the weeks go on, I think he's going to be a top receiver for the New Orleans Saints. And I think he's going to I believe he's going to lead the team in touchdown catches. I really do. Touchdown receptions, I should say. But I like what I saw out of the, certain players on the offense. But that offensive line, I mean, every last one of them, got beat. I mean, from Eric McCoy. Well, I take that back. I didn't see anybody beat Cesar Ruiz. I guess when you start getting paid, I guess that would, you ain't about to let nobody come your quarterback weight. But, I mean, James Hurts got beat out there. Obviously, Trevor Penning did. Ryan Ramczyk with the false start. But, for the most part, the right side, they straight, right? I mean, Ruiz and Ramczyk, they all right? I think they're going to be okay. It's just the left side of that line that needs to get cleaned up. I love the fact how the Saints were attacking the ball in this game. I mean, if you go back and watch that game versus what the Saints were under like Aaron Glenn or, even Chris Richard, like as the secondary coaches, what I saw was guys with their head turns. I seen guys attacking the ball, not the players, but the ball. There was one play. It didn't work in the Saints' favor, but it was by Alontae Taylor. When Alontae tried to jump in front of a pass and it was caught by a receiver, I mean, but that I can accept because that was so different than what I saw last year. Guys are attacking the ball in the secondary this season, and it's pretty obvious that these guys want to generate turnovers, and they know that's how you become a playoff team. That's how you win a lot of games. You get the ball back into the hands of your offense. And if the Saints can replicate this in the secondary consistently, they can be a dangerous team, man, because they don't allow many points. They go out there and they put their best foot forward defensively. So if you can play this way all season long, they better look out. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the highs and the lows. Let's talk about the ups and let's talk about the downs. Who got the up? Who got the down? Let's go ahead and start with Carl Granderson. Carl Granderson had a really good game. He had 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Payton Turner goes down, and Carl Granderson continues to step up. So does Carl Granderson deserve an up, or does he deserve a down? My Bennett booming. My Bennett booming. Look, Carl Granderson is in his 5th year with the New Orleans Saints, and this looks like a rewind of something that I seen a couple of years ago that involved Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson, in his final year with the New Orleans Saints, had 15.5 sacks, and he got that big contract in Cincinnati. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that the New Orleans Saints made, because they had an opportunity to pay this guy and they didn't. And that's unfortunate. But I hope that they don't make the same mistake twice when it comes to Carl Granderson. Carl Granderson, I feel like, will be a double-digit sack defensive end this season, as long as he stays upright. As long as he can stay healthy, I think that he will get double-digit sacks. And this would be a huge help for the New Orleans Saints because, Cam Jordan, even though it don't look like it, especially not yesterday, the way he was playing, he is getting older, and you need somebody else to step up because, one day Cam Jordan is not going to wear a Saints uniform or NFL football uniform anymore, and somebody else is going to have to pick up that banner and carry it alone. And I think Carl Granderson could possibly be that guy. I was very impressed with what I seen with Carl Granderson. I mean, the way he was pressuring Ryan Tannehill in this game, the way that he was going up against those offensive linemen, and those offensive linemen of the Tennessee Titans are no slouches. Next player that I want to analyze is Rashid Shaheed. Does Rashid Shaheed deserve an up, or does Rashid Shaheed deserve a down?
My Benny booming. Like that viral moment. My Benny booming.
Yes, Rashid Shaheed deserves an up, even though at the beginning of the game, he definitely deserved a down. Look, you cannot fumble the football on a kick return, especially the first kick return of the freaking game. My goodness. But he was able to shake that off, and he had some very clutch moments. He had the lone touchdown in the game, and of course, he had the 41-yard reception to pretty much seal the game. I like Rashid Shaheed a lot. Reminds me a lot of a young Antonio Brown, minus the crazy stuff. I think that he is a guy that can be a multi-time Pro Bowl type receiver. And I think that he can be a fan favorite. Maybe like, one of those Lance Moore type guys, that he goes to New Orleans and he ain't got to pay for nothing. That's kind of like what I see when it comes to Rashid Shaheed. He seems like a guy that really enjoys playing football. He always has a smile on his face. It don't seem like he ever gets down, even in certain situations. And for him to be so young, only in his second year, to be able to bounce back the way that he did, you got to give him credit on that, man. So Rashid Shaheed stepping up in clutch moments in his very young career, he definitely deserves an up. Next, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about Mike T. Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, does he deserve an up, or does Mike T deserve a down?
My Benny booming. Like that viral moment. My Benny booming.
Yes, Michael Thomas deserves an up. And all the haters, how you like me now? Michael Thomas, first play of the game. It was not a slant. Now y'all like to call him slant guy. No. I mean, it was a back shoulder fade. First play from scrimmage. I don't want to say first play from scrimmage, but first play for the offense. And he throws the ball down the left sidelines to Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas makes the catch. Look, I'm telling people, and I've been telling people this for quite some time. Michael Thomas was running those routes is because of Drew Brees' limitations at the quarterback position at the time. He was in a twilight of his career, and he could not get the ball down the field. Go back and watch Michael Thomas's rookie season. You can see that he wasn't just running slant routes. He was running routes down the field and making catches. And Michael Thomas is definitely back. And I think that it's going to be helpful that you have a guy like Chris Olave. You're really going to see Michael Thomas really do some work. I think that Michael Thomas this season is probably going to be like the Anquan Bolden of the team. Now, you had Larry Fitzgerald on one side, and then you had Anquan Bolden. Anquan Bolden was the guy who got the third down conversions. He was the guy that got the first downs. He was the guy that was in the red zone making catches. I look at Michael Thomas as that Anquan Bolden type wide receiver. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Anquan Bolden could easily go for 100 yards in any game. So I like what I saw out of Michael Thomas. I think that Michael Thomas will continue to build on this as long as he stays healthy. I think that he's going to be a threat for the New Orleans Saints offense. So congratulations to Mike T. It's good to see that Mike T is looking like his old self again. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on. We got to talk about Trevor Penning.
Barbecue chicken alert. Barbecue chicken alert.
Now, this is pretty obvious. I'm not even going to waste the time to say does he deserve an up or a down. I think we all know that the guy deserves a down. But I take no pleasure in doing this. I really don't, man, because I like Trevor Penning a lot. I just don't want to see this man's confidence wavered because the Saints waited too long to try to switch this man to the guard position. I just don't see it working. I like the size. I think that he has that mean streak that you look for in the offensive line. And I just think that if the Saints move him on the inside, he will be one of the best guards in football. He has that mind frame. I just think that the speed on the edge is a little bit too tough for him. And you got to be able to move those feet, man. You got to be able to be quick. And I just don't think he has it at this stage of his career. And I'm afraid that he may not ever have it. But we'll see, as time goes on. The Tennessee Titans, good defensive line. So if we start to see the same things happen week after week, I think the Saints are going to have to do something. I know they want to give this guy the vote of confidence by saying, we believe in you, but it's kind of hard for me to believe in Trevor Penning on the left side, protecting the blind side of Derek Carr. And finally, we got to talk about Derek Carr. Does Derek Carr deserve an up, or does Derek Carr deserve a down?
Barbecue chicken alert. Barbecue chicken alert.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
My Bennett booming. Like that viral moment. My Bennett booming.
Yes, Derek Carr does deserve an up, and I'll tell you why. Derek Carr came into a situation where a lot of Saints fans were wondering, is this the guy? Is this the dude that can lead us to victory? Is he a guy that we can count on? And I believe that we can count on Derek Carr. Was it the best debut we ever seen? No, it was not. But he put the ball where it needed to be, and he made the plays that needed to be made. And it's something that you're going to have to build on. I think that Derek Carr in some cases did hold on to the ball too long. I think in some cases there were opportunities that presented themselves and he didn't pull the trigger. There was one pass that he had to Michael Thomas and the ball, I don't know if it just slipped out of his hand or what, but it was opportunities there. And, I want to see Derek Carr be able to have success in the red zone. I mean, it's not looking good, man. I mean, throughout his career, it has not looked good in the red zone. And yesterday, the New Orleans Saints had opportunities in the red zone, and they weren't successful. They didn't come away with touchdowns. They came away with field goals. And, it's good to have a field goal kicker that can kick. Shouts out to Blake Grupe. And I'm appreciative of Blake Grupe, especially on this day after what we've seen from Will Lutz in Denver. My goodness, the Saints are looking like the smartest team in the world right now. But you got to be able to punch it in if you're Derek Carr. And I believe that they'll start to click and they'll start to gel once these guys get on the same page. But Derek Carr, had a lot of pressure, a lot of frustration, feeling disrespected about what happened with the Raiders. He comes back, he plays pretty well, and the Saints get the victory. And if the Saints can, go into Carolina in week 2, the Saints can build some momentum and maybe, can get some separation going from the South, because I know that you had teams in the South that won yesterday, 3 out of the 4, but I'm not really that impressed with Desmond Ridder based on what I've seen. Not really that impressed with Bryce Young, even though I feel like he's talented. I'm not impressed with Baker Mayfield, even though they won the football game against Minnesota. I'm not. Derek Carr is the best quarterback in the NFC South. And if the Saints can find ways to get that offensive line on point and give Derek Carr some time, the Saints can be a very, very dangerous offense because they got 3 receivers that are capable. They got a tight end that is capable. They got a red zone threat tight end in Jimmy Graham that is capable. And they also have a weapon, a secret weapon in Taysom Hill that is, that can give the defenses fits. So if you can put all of this together, get the running game involved, I think that Derek Carr can have a magical season. So Derek Carr definitely deserves an up. And finally, we got to talk about Payton Turner. Payton Turner going into his 3rd season with the New Orleans Saints, high expectations, just like you would any first-round draft pick. The Saints drafted him out of Houston. They expected for him to be able to be opposite of Cam Jordan. But yet again, unfortunately, Payton Turner gets hurt. He gets turf toe, has to get surgery, and more than likely, he's going to be missing a few months of football. I hate to say this, but it needs to be said. This was a guy who was hurt at the University of Houston. He was always hurt. And now he comes into the league. Now, I never understood why teams try to get these guys that have a history of being injured in college. If they got injured in college, more than likely, they're going to be injured in the pros. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for everybody, but when guys have multiple injuries throughout their collegiate career, more than likely they're going to have multiple injuries throughout their professional career. And Payton Turner, I don't know what he is. Like, honestly, I can sit up here and try to evaluate Payton Turner, but it's hard for me to sit up here and say what he actually is because he never plays. When he is on the field, it's just a matter of time before he gets hurt. And it's unfortunate, man. And maybe this can be one of them situations where he goes on and finishes his career with some other team and he's dangerous and he's making plays. And we're like, man, I wish he would have made it for us. But I just think that his time is gone. It's over with. Like, I think the Saints need to move on from that. I think that they need to bring in somebody else, maybe draft someone else, you know what I'm saying, as a pass rusher, or, hopefully the development of Isaiah Foskey works in the Saints' favor. But this Payton Turner experience, it's been horrible, man. And it hasn't been because he can't play. It's been because he hasn't been able to stay on the field. You got to be able to be out there with your team. You can't make plays if you're always rehabbing something, an arm, a leg, a back. And it's just that time, man. It's time for some of these other guys to step up and also see what you have in some of these other players that are trying to make their splash and make waves in order for them to be a part of the rotation. I mean, I know they got Nico Lalos on practice squad, right?
He better lay low.
I mean, I feel bad for Payton Turner, but I just think that the New Orleans Saints, it's time, man. It's time. But I would love to hear from you. What do you all think about the Saints week 1 game versus the Tennessee Titans? Who deserves an up or a down your way? Also, what do you think about Payton Turner's latest injury, him being out for a few months? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. You can also follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8 and also on Bleacher Report. You can follow me on Bleacher Report. Did a live stream with the performance grades of certain players. So check it out on bleacherreport.com. It's under the Saints tab. And hopefully you all enjoy those live streams. Shouts out to Bleacher Report asking me once again to come back for week 2. I guess I did all right. They asked me to come back for week 2 for the Carolina Panthers New Orleans Saints game. So we'll be back on Bleacher Report on Monday night. And also we're going to be talking throughout the week about the Saints big time Monday night matchup against the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte week 2. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?